Hello, everyone. Welcome to Getting Started Teaching Python. Lots of people are piling in. Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Hello, hello, hello. I see some familiar names, some new names. Thank you all for stopping in to our 1.5 hour Getting Started Teaching Python. I'll wait just a minute to get going, but let me pop the link into the chat for you. There you go. That link is to our slide presentation, if you would like to take a gander. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Nice to see everyone. We've got Kent here with us today. All right, I think we've slowed down on people joining. We might be able to get going. I'm going to put the link one more time for the slides. There it is in the chat again. And I think we are going to get started. So in the chat, if you could just give us some information about you while we introduce ourselves. So what subjects or courses do you teach? Have you used CodeHS before, or are you brand new? And then since we're talking about Python today, if you have any experience with Python, this is the getting started with Python. So maybe you have just a little bit of experience. But anyway, while we're going through that, my name is Robin Leslie, and I am a professional development specialist with CodeHS. I taught in Northwest Indiana. I taught high school for 15 years, and I used CodeHS in my classroom, not only as curriculum for my students, but when I found out I was going to be teaching computer science, CodeHS was one of the platforms I used to teach myself computer science. So I have been using CodeHS for quite some time now, and I'm happy to be with the company. I do want to let you know in the background today, we do have a couple of other CodeHS people. We have Leanne and Stephanie, who you might hear from if you ask a question. So they may be the ones answering questions in the background for us. And then let me see here. Not seeing anything in the chat. I don't know if anybody else.
Robin, Steven said in the Q&A that the chat says it's disabled.
Oh, Leanne, can you look
Just
in?
fixed it. It's good now.
It's good now. Okay. Leanne is our amazing webinar specialist person. Go ahead and try out the chat. Hopefully it's working now. See if we can get anything to show up in there, because I would like to hear from you all. Yay! Woo woo! Stephanie, thank you so much. West Virginia. Very cool. All right, let me move on to the next slide. And I will have Kent introduce himself while we're learning some more about you all. Kent, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'd love to. It is so nice to see you guys. It's a wonderful day here in Texas, and my name is Kent. I've been teaching computer science for 25 plus years. I teach Java in AP Computer Science. I teach Python, obviously. I teach JavaScript and game development, and I do web design and web development stuff too. And I'm just so happy to be here with you guys, talking a little bit of Python. Welcome.
Nice, thank you so much. Missouri, Texas. I know we've got Indiana represented. We have Illinois represented today. Woo, look at all those courses. Familiar with Python, but have so much to learn. Yes, yes, California. We're coming in from all over the place today. That's exciting. I just want to go over a couple of things about our webinar setup. So as you can see in the bottom, most of you have found it. There's a little chat area where you can chat with us or the host. You can chat with each other if you guys have any resources you want to share with each other. So feel free to interact in the chat area. If you happen to have any questions about CodeHS specifically, or anything that you would like either me or Leanne or Stephanie to answer, you can send those questions in the Q&A. And I can tell you my Q&A is actually under the more, the three dots, and it says more, and then it says Q&A. Yours might actually show up in your little toolbar at the bottom. But so Q&A, if you've got, you know, kind of a specific question for you, or a question about CodeHS, or a question specifically about the course. And then if you have any questions that you would like to direct to Kent while he's presenting, he's not going to be looking at the chat because it's kind of distracting to do both, but we will be monitoring the chat, and we can either answer your questions there, or every once in a while, Kent will stop and ask and see if there are any questions, and then we'll let him know what questions you have, maybe about things he does in his classroom, or advice, things like that from Kent. So those are our two areas. If you don't already have a CodeHS account, so if you're brand new to CodeHS, here is the link in the chat for you to get a free account. And so if you, again, have not signed up for CodeHS, it is absolutely free to use our middle school and high school courses. And you can sign up today for your teacher account. It will need to be verified before we can give you all of the solutions and things like that. We do double check to make sure students are not trying to sign up as teachers, but we can definitely get you in today. And then this is just a little bit about our platform. If you're not very familiar, we are a comprehensive platform, which basically means that we hope to have everything you need to teach computer science. So we do have curriculum that's K through 12 now. So we go all the way from kindergarten up through senior year. We do offer professional development as well. And we have lots of cool teacher tools and resources that you can use. Thumbs up from Ken. Some of them, instant feedback. We do have auto graders to help with grading of the assignments, lesson plans, tracking tools, all sorts of good stuff to help you. All right, and I did put the slides in the chat, but I'm going to put the slides in the chat one more time for anybody who has just hopped on. I see we have a question for the end, so we will make sure to get to that as we move through. Thank you so much, Stacy. And then we do have an attendance link, so I am going to pop that in the chat. So you can click this, let us know that you attended, and it should just pop up and say thanks for attending. Nothing spectacular happens, but it will say thanks for attending. And we can get certificates out to you. Right now, we're working on our certificate program, so just be kind of patient with us to try and get those certificates out for attending today. So that is that link that I put in there for you. And then we have a workshop section for today. So I'm going to be going over a couple of things, and Kent's going to be going over a couple of things. And it would be super helpful if you were in our section. And when you join this section, you would be put in as a student. So you want to make sure to join our section. And then as we go through some things, it's just helpful to be able to see everything all in that one spot. So lots of links have made it into the chat for you. Is there anything that you need me to put in? Maybe you missed a link. Maybe you just got here. I can take a second and just make sure that all the links are in there for you. So we've had the slide presentation link, the attendance link, and then the last one was to enroll as a student in the section that we created today. We are chock full of links. All right, well, if you need something, just type in the chat and let us know. So I'm going to move on, and we're just going to take a quick look at our Introduction to Python Programming course. This course was actually, we updated our Python courses last year. And so this is one of our updated courses. And it's right here. Let me put the link in so you can also preview this as well, or maybe bookmark it and take a look at it later. So this is the high school course. It's a year long. It is 120 contact hours, and it teaches students Python. It does start teaching Python using our mascot, Carol the dog, and then it works through and gets you into the console. There are some really cool projects located throughout this course as well. And so this is the course that we recommend for teachers who would like to do an intro to Python course with their students. And then just to give you a little bit of a breakdown here. Oh, it says the Python course link is broken. So I'm going to have somebody put that new link in for you into the chat, and then we can actually go in and change it on the slides as well. So we'll get that to you in just a second. Thanks for letting us know. All right, here's the breakdown of the Python course. You can see that it does start with Carol in Python, which is really cool. And that's what I'm going to show you today. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Hopefully that link works for you. If not, let us know. And then you can see some of the projects that we have in there, the Mad Libs, the quiz game, the game of pig. The students really do like to, use the knowledge and the new things that they've learned to make some of these fun games and projects as they go through. And then we also have supplemental modules that you can add to our courses. So whenever you select a course, and if you're selecting the Python course, when you scroll down to the bottom of your section, you'll see that there's an area where you can add, it'll say add course content. And so there's always supplemental materials down at the bottom that go along with the course that you are teaching. So it could be a midterm exam, a final exam, it could be extra projects. Things like that that you can add to your course. And then here's just a little bit of a course overview, and I'm going to pop into the course so we can take a look at this. So instead of going through all the slides, I'm going to get right in there and show you what it looks like. So if you happen to be in that link that we put to get into our workshop section, and I'm just going to copy it and paste it back in here for you again. So that's the link to get into the workshop section. Nope, that is not. Let me try one more time. Copy.
Robin, there's just a period at the end of your link.
And paste. Oh, are you talking about the link for the course overview?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so there is the link to get into our section, and that's what I'm going to be going over with you right now. And then this section does use that course that I was just showing you, the Intro to Python Programming course, which is that year-long course for high school students. So this is the section we created just specifically for this webinar. And we call it Mickey Mouse Saga because that is a project that Kent is going to be going over with you today, which is a really cool way to get your students to learn and understand and use Python. So he happens to have a module that we put right up at the top here that he's going to go over with you. I am just going to scroll down so you can see what the standard course would look like if you happened to be teaching this one upcoming. So we can see we do have a welcome module, Carol in Python, basic Python and console. So each one of these you can either call modules or units, and you can kind of scroll through and see all of the units or modules that come with this course. And here is where you can get this supplemental material to add. So I am going to come back up to the top, and I'm going to click right on this Carol in Python. Now I want to show you I'm in as a teacher right now, and you are in as a student right now. So mine does look different than yours. I am going to show you how you can, as a teacher, go back and forth between looking at it as a student and looking at it as a teacher. And you can see some of the things that we have for teachers. So a quick and easy way, you can see I'm in the teacher assignment view. If I was a teacher teaching this lesson to my students, I would click the switch to student view so students can see it as they normally see it. They don't need to see all of the other teacher things. So I'm just switching to student view, and then this should be the view that you see when it pops up. It's moving slow. I see a lot of good questions coming in on the chat. Wow, this is amazing. I hope my internet's not going down. We are supposed to get storms today, so fingers crossed that nothing happens to my internet. This is not looking good though. We'll wait and see if it gets me to where I need to be. Otherwise, I'm going to try and refresh and see if that works. Technology is sometimes good, sometimes not. This is the kind of stuff that happens, of course, you know, whenever you're doing something important. Yay! Oh man, it worked. Okay, so I am in as a student and you are in as a student. So this is what you should see. And if you scroll down, you do see all of the units and modules that we were talking about. You can see it says 0% not started because as a student, I haven't really done anything. Now you can see that I clicked around before we started today, which is why a couple of things are yellow. I was, as a student, kind of clicking around. And you can see if I come up to where the yellow is, it says assignment started. Basically, I just clicked around. I didn't finish anything. So again, this is what Kent's going to go over with you. What I want you to do is I want you to scroll down as you guys are students, and we're just going to click on this Carol in Python module to open it up. And you can see lots of lessons in here to teach students about Python using our Carol the dog. And then I'm just going to go through this first lesson. So each one of these are lessons. And you can see lessons have lots of different activities in them. A couple different ways that students can see the activities. I clicked one more time to open it up and I can see them all here. Or I can click again and I can collapse it and see them all this way. So whichever way students want to work through it. I'm going to click on this video. And this is how most of our lessons start, with a video. And as a teacher, you can choose whether you want to show the video to the class, have the students watch the video on their own. And we do have a CodeHS version if you can't access YouTube from your school or your students can't. And then up top here, there are slides. So if you want to not watch either one of those videos, you can go ahead and you can go to the slides and open those up and go through the slides with your students. And so that's actually what I'm going to do. So this is our introduction to Carol. What is Carol? Who or what is Carol? It's a dog who listens to your commands. And then programming or coding is giving commands to a computer, which is like giving commands to a dog. And my dog doesn't even know how to sit. She does not really take commands very well. She does bite nicely. And then what do we do with this Carol? So what Carol can do in teaching students Python is move around in this world. This is what Carol's world looks like. And then, so what specifically can Carol do? Well, Carol starts off knowing 4 Python commands. One is move, a turn left, a put ball, and a take ball. And notice we use the snake case, so we do have the underscore in here. And we do have parentheses after each one that are empty. And so Carol knows how to do 4 things. Okay. All right, so here is dissecting a Carol command. So this is the command to move, and it's just going to move Carol 1 space in whatever direction Carol is facing. So notice there are no spaces, and we need to match exact capitalization. I hate that word. We need to match it perfectly. And then, of course, every command needs to end with our 2 parentheses. And again, this is just as a teacher, how you would go through this. Of course, you would go through it a little bit slower. And this is just the first lesson for students getting started to know who Carol is. So when you do a Carol program, there's a starting world and there's an ending world. And so you want the ending world when you're done. So you can see my starting world has no ball and Carol starts here. But if I'm going to do this correctly, then in the end, this ball would be placed here and Carol would be in this spot. So there's always a starting world and an ending world with Carol, and you need to make sure that your ending world looks like it's supposed to. Okay, so we are going to do our first Carol program. So I am going to, I want to show you too, though, that we do have quizzes. So right after you show a video or you go through the slides, you can have the students take the very next thing that comes in line, which is the quiz. And so these are some things that we've learned. Which of these is a valid Carol command? And again, different ways that you can work these. You can have students answer these questions on their own, or you can do it like I'm doing it and do it with the class and then have everybody kind of answer together and explain why the answer is what it is. You can even customize your course if you would like, and you can move this question maybe to the end of the lesson and do it as an exit ticket to make sure that students got what they were supposed to get that day. So which of these is a valid Carol command? I'm going to go here with number 3, and then I'm going to check it. Yay, we got 1. So 1 out of 2. And then which of these is not a command that Carol knows? So we talked about the 4 commands Carol knows. So here we have turn left, turn right, move forward, and put down a ball. I can tell you that the one Carol doesn't know how to do, which really gets students when we first start, is the turn right command. So if we check that, you can see that right now, Carol doesn't know how to turn right. We eventually teach Carol through creating functions how to turn right. And then I just want to go on to the next thing. We're just going in order as you would as a teacher. The next thing you come across is an example. And an example is code that's already done that allows students to kind of work with it and see what they can do with it. So if they want to, move this command down here, they can get rid of a command. They can see what happens if you don't have the parentheses, things like that. So students can work through the examples. The other thing is that teachers can work through the examples with the students. So I could, get rid of some parentheses. I could put these in a different order. I could maybe take away this hyphen, things like that, and we could do some debugging as a class. Another thing you can do as a teacher is put this into a sandbox program, and you could have students collaborate on it. So those are all things that you can do in CodeHS. Obviously, today we're just focusing on learning Python in CodeHS, but I do want you to know that there are a lot of different ways for you to customize your teaching with whatever course you happen to choose from CodeHS. So I'm going to go to the next one, which is your first Carol program. And so this is one I want you to be able to do. So I'm going to have you work on this on your own. So I want to show you again where we're at to make sure that you're not lost in any way. We are in the second module, module 2, Carol and Python. And as a student, you are going to come all the way over to this first pencil. And if you hover over it, it says your first Carol program. So if you go ahead and click on that, you can see it's got your starting world and it's got your ending world. So we want to make sure that in the end, this is what your program looks like. As a student, you'll click Get Started, and then you will be able to type right up here. The nice thing over on the left-hand side, we have the quick docs. So you can see, and these are there for students as well. You're in as a student. You can see that these are the commands that Carol knows. So students can copy from here if they want to. They can copy and paste, and they can put the commands in there, or they could just look over here and type in the command. The other thing I tell students to do is to run every so often. Like right now I have one move. I'm going to hit run. And I can see that it moved my Carol forward one space, and it says, oh, you know, there should be 0 balls at 1-5, but there's still 1. So it's kind of checking as I go, and it's letting me know that I'm not done yet, that I need to do some other things. So I want you to go ahead and figure out what you need to do to get Carol over to this spot and for it to remove this ball. And in the end, this is what it's supposed to look like on the left. And then let me know if you have any questions, and I'll go through this one fairly quickly with you. I'm just going to scan here. Link for attendance, attendance, attendance. Do most instructors keep students paced together on a daily basis? Let them run at their own pace, which I struggle, or depends on a variety of factors. New to coding. So yeah, different teachers do it different ways. Obviously, I have seen it done both ways you're talking about, or a mixture of those two. When I was teaching, I kept them all in the same spot. So I think that helped me, and I think it helped them more than anything. I did have one teacher that I observed a few months ago who he said, either you're with me or you're ahead of me. So he wanted to make sure that none of the students were lagging behind. And if they were, they would have to ask him for like a help session pass to come in during like a help time or something along those lines. So he did have everything opened up for students, and he did allow them to move ahead, but they couldn't be behind where he was. Can you see our progress as we work on the program? I can see your progress as you work on the program. So if I just go back here. So again, this is where I started, and you can see all of the modules. I can go over here to progress. There's a couple of different areas you can go to see how students are doing. And then, so this is what I see so far. So a couple of people have opened, maybe not finished yet, but I do have a couple of people that are open. And then we also have some other areas where you can go. We have a real-time dashboard, which is a pro feature. I'm not going to get into too much of that right now because I want to make sure that Ken has enough time to get through his content. But I will say that one thing you can do if you're new to CodeHS is we do have a CodeHS YouTube channel. And you can check out the YouTube channel and like look at one of the getting started with CodeHS webinars or workshops that were done. And that would have a lot of information for you, specifically on how to create a section and look at your student progress and grade and all of those things. We actually do, near the end of the slideshow, also have a bunch of resources for you and different places that you can go to get your questions answered, and also watch videos and things like that. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, so I can see, let me, so section module, I'm going to switch my module. So this is the Mickey Mouse Saga module. It just automatically put me on the first one. And the one that we're looking at, that I have you working on, is this Carol in Python module. So I'm just going to click on that one and see where everyone is. So here we go. I can see some people did amazing on the quiz. Man, you guys are, I'm telling you, you are good. And then the color-coded key up top, you can see if you hover over that lovely, I don't know, teal green color, means it's finalized. So basically the student did it, they did it right, it was auto-graded correctly, and they've moved on with their lives. So they did really well. Yellow just means it's been opened. Maybe it's been tried, but it's not completed. So you guys are doing awesome. And I'm just going to click my first Carol program. And you can see it highlights. I can click on a specific student, so I can see Stephen here. His is done. Right, so first Carol program. All right, and this is Stevens, and I can drop down and I can see other people as well. But this is done correctly. So move, 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 and take the ball. So move, 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 and then the ball was taken. Yep, so some of the features, we do have a free version of CodeHS and a pro version. And so if you want to find out more about pro, you can click that link there and find out about that. I used free the whole time that I was teaching. Would I have liked to have pro? Absolutely. But I never got it, unfortunately. All right, so good job on making it through here. The other couple of things I just want to show you real quick while we're in here would be the checking of the code. So students can click that check code button to make sure that they have everything that they need. The assignment button, just in case the students forgot what the assignment was. The Docs tab gives them all sorts of information on what Carol can do. And this changes. So once they get into the console with Python, this will change to be any of the commands that they can do in the console. Grading, and then this More tab. So as a teacher, for sure, you're going to want to look at the solutions. If you're a first-year teacher, absolutely. And the solutions are there for teachers as well. And I will give you a little hint. When I was doing like APCSA, which uses Java, I would take a picture of the solution code with my phone and I would have my phone sitting on my podium so that I didn't get lost when I was going over it with students. So if you're brand new to coding, you wouldn't want to pull this up, obviously, while you're going through the lessons with students, but I pulled it up ahead of time, took a picture, and I had it with me. So very sneaky I was. All right. I think that's it for that. Let me see if I have forgotten anything. We did do our sample. And there were a couple more. So like there was one more exercise, and it's up to you as a teacher. Again, if you want to maybe do one of them together with your students, if you want to have your students do them independently, if you want them to pair program to get any of these done, those are all different choices that you would make for sure as a teacher on how you want to kind of go through your classroom. And then we did go through all of our slides to learn how to use that. These are just some different ways that you can go through the lessons, either showing the video or doing the slides. We talked about a few of these different ways you can use the exercises or examples. And then lesson openers and closers. I can just show you real quick what it looks like on the teacher side. So if I go back to, I think I'm in, oh yeah, I switched. I am now in here as Stephen. We don't want to be in here. We don't want to be in there as Stephen. Let me back up here. Okay. So when I am in my course, let me back up one more. Man, I'm really in it as Stephen. I swear, Stephen, I won't mess any of your stuff up here. All right, so let me go back to, yeah, this is where I want to be. Let me go to assignments. Okay. So when I'm in as a teacher, I showed you how you can get to the student view, but of course there is the teacher view. So I do want to show you the teacher view real quick and show you a lesson plan. So I will specifically just show you the lesson plan for the lesson we just went through, which was that introduction to programming with Carol. The lesson plans are here in magenta, hot pink. And as you scroll through the lesson, you can see we've got the objectives, every activity that came with the lesson, of course, the solutions for the lessons or for the exercises. Some of the exercises have problem guides, which just gives you a little bit more information about the exercise. It does give you the solution and a bit more information. And sometimes there's even a video down here from our curriculum team that would walk a teacher through that lesson. So those are helpful. You've got your vocab, your handouts, if you would like to use the handouts. And then we do give you some ways to open, some ways to close any of your lessons, and then also some discussion questions. So if you're looking for a way to start class or end class, all of those are located in the lesson plans for you. Can we go over the More tab features later? We'll see if we can get to that for sure. I do want to make sure that Kent has enough time to do his Python. Again, we can direct you to the CodeHS YouTube channel that goes over that. And also maybe we could put a link in to some of the features that are located under the More tab as well. There's quite a bit under there to take a look at for sure. All right. Again, different ways that you can use the lesson videos. You can even add your own content and you can reorder content, you can remove content. And near the end of this webinar, Kent is going to show you that he has customized his course to include some projects that he has created on his own, and you can definitely do those things as well. All right, we're just going to take a quick, maybe 5-minute break here. We're going to get Kent set up. We're going to swap sharing screens, and then I'll see Stacy if I can't get that information to you in a link if I don't get to it later, because I want to make sure that you have that information. All right, so let's do a quick 5 minutes. We'll be back at 12 after, and we're going to swap spots. All right, thanks for hanging out. Be right back. All right, Kent, if you want to.
That was utterly fantastic. It was so clear. So clear.
It was a whirlwind, I'm telling you.
You sold me.
Oh, awesome. Good. I'm glad.
Do you want me to go ahead and share my screen?
Sure. Yeah, we'll get it all set up, make sure that everything looks good for you. And by the time they come back from break, we should be good to go. I gotta swap my screens around too. Let's see, how's this looking? Looks good. Nice.
You really did a good job on that. I don't know how you did all that in only 30 minutes.
Thanks. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm excited to hear about your stuff. All right. Where do I find the slides? I can put those right into the chat for you. All right, here we go. All right. Here are the slides. The slides for the lesson. So you're in, this is kind of hard to explain, but you are in this section that we created as a student. And so you should still be able to, when you click to watch the video as a student, it should up above that say slides. Kent, would you be able to, I hate to do this to you, but can you click on like Unit 2, Carolyn Python, just below there? Yeah, if you just open that up. And then maybe click on the, oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go in as a student. If you could swap up at the top and go to student, awesome.
I can do it this way too, right?
Yeah, yep. Of course, we can several different ways we can get to things, right? Oh, those are the ones you enrolled in as a student. So no, I lied. We can't do it that way.
Okay, let me go back to,
Yeah.
okay, so
So it should pop up here in a second since you switch back to, you could go to your sections if you'd like under classroom. I know we've got, so for those of you who may be new to CodeHS, we actually just did redo our navigation. So that left-hand navigation is fairly new for all of us. Awesome. So if you want to just click on assignments. Thank you so much. And then we're just going to show her where the slides are for students. So, yep, switch to student view. Now we've got it. And then when you get there, if you could just click on that unit 2, and then we'll go to the first lesson. Yeah, if you just want to click on the video. Awesome. Okay, so, oh, egads. Oh, there they are. Okay. Yep. Hopefully you can see where he's circling around up top. So again, with the videos, and we usually start each lesson with a video, they can watch it on CodeHS, they can watch it on YouTube, or they can just look through the slides. Awesome. Yay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Kent. Yeah, if you just want to go back down to your home button on the bottom left. And then you can hopefully scroll back up and switch back to teacher. Oh, back up one more.
it's not let me go up any higher.
Maybe just hit the back button. Yeah. I don't know how far in we went. You generally need to watch in CodeHS as YouTube requires. Yeah, so lots of people, my students, even halfway through the school year, they'd be like, I can't watch the video. And I'd say, well, did you click CodeHS? And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot. So you're not the only one who's got a district that does not let their students get to YouTube. So, yep, so definitely can use the CodeHS link instead or those slides. But I really do like the videos for students to be able to watch for sure. Yes, they are super helpful. I can definitely tell when a student hasn't watched the video. Like they're like, I can't do this exercise. Did you watch the video? Because it actually it showed you how to do it in the video. And of course you can look and see if they've clicked on it, but it doesn't let you know if they actually sat and watched all the way through and paid attention. Oh, good. Stephanie is getting a link for you to, it looks like some things that are located under the More tab. Oh, all right. I think we're ready to go. I'm ready if you're ready, Ken.
I'm ready.
Awesome. All right, take it away.
Okay. Hey, everybody. It's so nice to be with you today. I'm happy to get to demonstrate one of the features that I'm most excited about in CodeHS, and that is that you can create your own content. Kind of a little bit about my situation. I've been a curriculum developer and had been in charge of my own lab, writing my own stuff for over 20 years. And then when COVID hit, our school changed some things up dramatically, which pretty much forced me to go to online curriculum. And so we adopted CodeHS. And one of my main concerns was, hey, I've got this reservoir of materials that I've used for over 20 years. I hate to see that go to waste. And then I was delighted to find that I can customize any given course that CodeHS offers with stuff that I've done. And that's been magical for me. So the way that I've typically used the product is in two fashions. In the CodeHS world, I think of it as taking baby steps. So we can open up a course that we're teaching. In this case, it's the Python course, and we're going to assume you know nothing, and we're going to baby step your way through the materials in a logical sequence. And I use that, and that's typically how I assign homework. But the other thing that I do that fits my personality type and how I've typically taught in the past is I like to also, in my teaching, do it from a project-based perspective. So I'll usually pick something that's kind of a goofball idea, as you'll discover in a moment, and say, okay, what if we wanted to do this idea, this project X? How would we develop that from scratch? Which is very much like what you might encounter in the workplace someday. You go to a job, they're not going to teach you or have you do your work necessarily incrementally, but they're going to say, we want to have this product developed and launched in a month. Go for it. And so you're going to have to do things possibly in a nonlinear fashion. And so I teach both ways. The students are working on homework individually on the side this way, and then I'm teaching them, hey, here's this idea. What do we need to develop to get that idea to work? And so hopefully those two worlds collide somewhere in the middle. And so kids can see early on how things are used before they actually see them from the baby step perspective. And so that's what I did with this Mickey Mouse saga. Now, in the development, what I did is, we won't explore today, but they have this sandbox idea here where you can develop all sorts of materials in your own little sandbox, any course, any idea, any language, and it's all saved there. And then once you get something that's the way that you like it, you can import it into a course that you've created. So if you downloaded or registered to teach a section of the Intro to Programming in Python, then anything that you develop in the sandbox, you can import in. And that's exactly what we did here with the Mickey Mouse saga. So actually, when I start school this fall, this is probably where I'm going to start. I'm going to have the students start with homework and lessons in the welcome and the carol and all that stuff. But what I'm going to do in the classroom is to show them this little Mickey Mouse saga, which I'm about to walk you through. So I developed in the sandbox. We created it here. You can see that it's a module. And so when I click the little button, you can see that I only created one lesson just to keep things easy. So in this one lesson that says Mickey Mouse Stage 0, I can look and see all the different activities, which actually you can see it's Stage 0 all the way through Stage 5. So typically, if I wanted to be more complicated, I'd had a Stage 0 lesson, a Stage 1 lesson, etc. But I put it all here for convenience. Now, before I introduce this, let me just show you quickly, and they'll put the link to this in the chat. So I have a site called Tech Novice Tools that I have been maintaining for over 15 years or so that tries to showcase stuff for kids in an engaging fashion to let them kind of see where we might be going. And so if you've never heard of the Mickey Mouse Club, then you're a lot younger than I am. And so this is a YouTube that plays the little song MICKEYMOUSE. So if you're needing any culture today, later you can watch the video, but I won't, I'll let you get that culture on your own. But in the meantime, when I go back to my assignments here, I'm going to actually show you what the idea was that I had inspired by that video. So this is what I usually do with my students. I often will take them to the final stage of something. So I've opened up this module, Mickey Mouse Saga. I've gone to this lesson, and then with these little plus buttons, you can unfurl these things. And so I'm going to open up Mickey Mouse Stage 5 Final so that you can see the end game. And then we'll back up and talk about how I got it in a stage development and why I did what I did. And I'm going to obviously be going quickly with you guys as teachers. It would be in slow motion if I'm working with students. But so to see this, I click the little eyeball there, and that will open it up. And I didn't write, as a teacher, when you craft your own lessons, you can come up with your own explanation of what's going on here. I didn't take the time to do that because I did that within the lesson itself. So here I've got a panel of code. Now, typically, I'm only using one module here or one interface, and I don't need this. So to get extra space, I'm going to click this little button there, and it kind of hides that and gives me lots of wiggle room here. And so this is your editor, and then this is the running panel. And so now as you, when Robin was illustrating using Carol, there's two approaches to teaching Python. They start out geniusly with stuff that you can see with the graphics with Carol. And if you're using the other Python course, which is what I did, we use Tracy the Turtle. So I'll show you some of that in a moment. And you can customize Carol, you can customize Tracy the Turtle, whatever you like. But I'm doing what I would call console programming just because that's what I chose to do. And so what you see here, of course, is the little green button. So this, because it's stage 5 final, I'm going to go ahead and run it. And if you've opened this, you can run it too. And so hopefully we won't find any bugs in this. Now, as sure as I tell my students that, they go and they find some bugs, which is actually, I'm really happy about that, because that shows me that they're engaging and they want to make me look like an idiot, which isn't difficult to do at times. And so then, oh, you found a bug? Well, let's fix it. So anyway, you can see that I'm Mickey Mouse hyphenation stage 5. Here I've got the explanation. And so what it's asking me for is, what's your hyphenating character? Now, typically when I run it, I'm going to run it as a nice guy. So I'm giving it a hyphen. I'm going enter. And then what is your phrase? I love programming with Python, exclamation point. And so when I go return, then you can see it's giving me what I call a breadcrumb, showing me I'm hyphenating the phrase, single quote, I love programming with Python, single quote, with a hyphen. And so that's what I call a breadcrumbing, telling me what it's doing. And then you can see the final result. This is like the MICKEY, where it's kind of spelling it out for us. And you can see that it has somehow magically taken the phrase that I typed, capitalized it, and then gone through and hyphenated it. And then you can see it's continuing to go. What is your phrase? Q to quit. So if I go Q and then you hit return, then it thanks me for using the app. So this is the version this is the final version, which hopefully works well. I'm going to show you some of the big ideas here. You can play with this. I believe you'll have access to this module once the webinar is over, so you can go and play and see if you can break it. If you do, email me, and I would love to see what you found as far as an error is concerned. But so here you see some comment. I will typically, when I do custom coding with kids and we do custom projects, I usually have header comments. So here's the header comments for this module. And here you see I've got my links to Tech Novice Tools, where I showed the movie clip and I showed a PHP example. And here are some comments for you of why I'm doing what I'm doing. But getting down to the code, what it's important to me early on in the year, since I teach AP Computer Science, Python is our entry course to AP Computer Science and Java. So I'm trying to get them to start thinking about some things that I know they're going to need when they get to Java. And that is the idea possibly of global variables or class level variables. So I have a comment there showing me I've got some variables that I'm going to be using, maybe that all functions know about. And then, of course, you know, functions are a really big deal in all of computer science. And so here I've got some functions, a function section where I've got the definition of the introduction function. And also you'll notice I like to show where things begin and end. I think that's a good practice, since Python does not use curly braces, which I was aghast at first. I put in my little comments to show where things begin and end. I just feel like that's helpful. And then you've got some functions that are doing the dirty work, like getting a hyphen symbol and getting the phrase, and then processing the phrase. And notice I've got a 0 version, which is not used in this application because it had a slight flaw in it. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then here's the improved version, so I can compare and contrast with the students. And so we'll look at that in a moment. But here we get to what I call the main event. And this is what I teach almost from day one, is a structuring of, hey, at the top of our program, we're going to have a section of global variables. We're going to have all of our functions. Then we're going to have a section that I'm calling the main event, which is like an outline for how things are to be done. So I've got a little heading here, and you can see that the main event area is very short. It's like an outline of the activities that we're going through. And what I'm showing the kids early on, and contrasting this with Carol, is that, hey, Carol had a move function. Carol had a put ball function. Well, I've got my own functions, the introduction function, the get hyphen symbol function, the get phrase function. And so just like we had Carol go through and do some graphics, I'm having Python go through and do these things in kind of an outline form, which is based on calling functions in the proper order. And so, and then also I try to attach with all my programs a sample run of what it looks like when they're done. So if they're writing this from on their own, they can see what it should look like. So anyway, that's stage 5 final. Now let's go and go to what I would call stage 0 start. So I often will have starter code. So I stage this stuff out with students so they can see the staging of development. And so once I get here, you can see that this is a gutted version of what we just saw. I've still got my header comments. Here they are. And here's what I'm trying to do at the moment. Now, often I will have something that actually works, even though it's in its infancy. So when I come and run, I'm curious. Sometimes it doesn't do anything. In this case, it is giving me my header statement. And just philosophically, I usually, if I'm writing projects, I like to have a clear beginning with some kind of cutesy intro heading line, and then a thing that thanks them for using the app. The reason being is once they get into loops, if they're stuck in some kind of loop or something's waiting for input, if I never see this comment that says, thanks for using the app, I know something might be running in the background. So philosophically, that's just something I tend to do. So notice, if I were writing something from scratch for kids to start filling in, I've got a section for global variables. I've got a section for functions. Those are empty. I did go ahead and create some no-touch code, which is my introduction. So here's where I might talk about the framework of a function early on, and this might even be day 1 or day 2 of the course. They will not see functions from a baby step perspective, maybe for 2 or 3 more months, but I want them to start seeing it early on. And often I'll give them stuff that works just fine, is because this is nothing more than a function that's printing out some information. And so, and the thing that looks a little weird there are the \ns, which many of you might know are line feeds. And so we can talk about the syntax of this and how I started a function with def introduction parentheses colon. That's how I introduce the heading of the function. And then I end it with my comment, which with the hashtag. And so then there's the only function introduction. And then here's the main event with my heading comment, my calling of the introduction, and then the thanking them of using the app. So this is the starting place. And so then we think, okay, what are we going to have to do to get happen what we just saw with the illustration of the hyphenization process? Well, we have to ask for an hyphenation character. We have to ask for a phrase that we want to hyphenate. And then we have to do the magic of hyphenating. And so going to the next stage, now I have a stage 0 final, which puts a little bit more in there. I'm going to go ahead and go to stage 1 final, and let's look and see how I've kind of shelved that out a little bit. So I'm in stage 1 final. And so again, I'm going to hide this panel because I don't need it. I need all this precious real estate here. And you can see that I've got yet some more comments. I will have the students put their coder name, the date. This is the Mickey Mouse stage 1 final. And then here's what we're trying to do. So now I see, ooh, I've got some global variables. I've got a hyphen symbol, which is a dash or a hyphen, a default phrase called Mickey Mouse code. Here's the case where I start talking about creating variables, and we talk about meaningful names. We talk about using the hyphenating, consistent way of doing things and naming variables without spaces. And then we talk in this case about string manipulation. And I really like, usually in all my courses, I start with a string manipulation concept because I think it's a little bit more engaging. And if you are dealing stuff with strings, ultimately you're going to see all sorts of stuff. You're going to see the idea of arrays. You're going to see the idea of string manipulation with getting substrings. You're going to see the idea of going and targeting information and then using built-in functions that are part of the string ecosystem. So strings provide a rich engagement to see everything as an introductory idea early on, which then we build on when we do the baby steps that they'll be seeing in the course. At any rate, I've got the global variables, and then there's the introduction, which we talked about. Now, one thing that's kind of cute, if you look at line 31, if I run this thing, this is something that's new that I introduced. I will tell you the ugly secret. I didn't like Python at first. I was appalled of any language that used spaces for programmatic content. It's like, if I had hair, I'd pull it out. It's like, how can you do this? But as I've seen the power of Python, I've kind of become a fan. So like, for example, on line 31, I could hardwire this little set of dashes separating the introduction from the running of the program. But look, this is such a cool idea. Line 31, print parentheses, and then I've got a quoted hyphen times 50. I'd like to see Java do that. And you know, so this is engaging. And so I throw in these little nuggets just to show them why I became a Python fan. So now you see, if I look at the main event, we have our introduction. Now, this is the first time we're seeing calling a function called get hyphen symbol. And what I get them to see early on, ooh, these are two function calls. One is a function call on its lonesome. It's not in the context of any kind of assignment. Here's one where I'm targeting a hyphen symbol. It's going to be assigned the result of get hyphen symbol. Notice it's got a meaningful name. Pretty much everybody can understand what get hyphen symbol might mean. And I talk about early on the idea of functions that do things on their own, that don't return anything to the outside world. Here's a function that does some work perhaps, but also returns it in a fashion where I have access to it as hyphen symbol. And so when we go up and look at the comparing and contrasting of that, here's the intro function. And notice I get to the end, it's just in a bunch of prints. But now when I get to get hyphen symbol, notice I've got something a little different. It's return hyphen character. And so this gets them early on to see the idea that functions basically have two footprints. One is to just do some tasks, like I'm going to wash windows, which just is doing some stuff, maybe with material that I've provided, and it's going to wash some windows for me. But I can have functions say, make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Well, that might provide the peanut butter and jelly, but it's got to make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it's got to bring it to me. And that's the function of, or the protocol of this return statement. So you see in get hyphen symbol, I'm using the input function. So I'm pointing out to the students early on, just like with Carol. Carol has a move function. Carol has a put ball function. Well, there's a input function, and it can take parameters, meaning ingredients. And so that's what's causing this to give the little input signal to me saying, what would you like? And then I'm going to grab that character. Now, if I'm Henri, and this is how I teach my kids early on to try to break things. And actually I praise them when they break my code. And that happens every stinking day. But then we fix it. Or I say, that's your assignment. You found the problem. You fix it. But at any rate, what's your hyphenating character? Well, if I'm evil, I might come in and say hyphen. Well, that's not a single symbol. And then I'm going to say help. Whoops, if I could spell. I wonder what's going to happen. Well, notice it's saying hyphenating help with H. Well, what it did is I said, hey, I'm thinking, what if they tried to put in more than one character? Well, here's automatically, we're now starting to talk about looking at a string and grabbing only the first character. And that gives me how they say, well, wait, there's a zero there. Why is a stinking zero there? Well, I'm glad you asked. I've got a little model that I use. I don't know if you can see this with bottle caps. Can you see that? That on a board where I call this my hotel. And so you can't see it, it's blurry, but I've got room 0 there as the bottle cap. And I talk about how strings and arrays lists start with room 0 for historical reasons and some reasonable reasons as well. And so we're just getting them to start thinking that way. And then I noticed, so what does get hyphen symbol do? Well, it prompts me for something. It manipulates it to get it to be in a version that I like, and then it returns it. Now, also, you can see commented out here, I've got a print. It says your hyphen character is, and so I'm scaffolding or letting them see what's happening. Now, this is also something that's magical about CodeHS that someone asked about the more tab. Here's an example of where you could use the more tab. So let's suppose I see that this thing is commented out. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to save. and then I'm going to run. And when I run it, it's gonna put me in what I call a breadcrumb, telling me something that's happened. So if I came in and said, let's suppose I put in a hat symbol, at symbol, and star symbol, because I'm being mean. Well, it says your hyphen character is top hat. Well, that's a breadcrumb that I might be taking out later. But I just want to see, did it really work? Oh yeah, grab me the first one. And then, well, what if Mr. Pendle, what if I said a 1 there? Well, what's going to happen? So this is very playful. I can do little what if games. Oh, look, zero-based indexing. So they'll see zero-based indexing maybe in the first week of school. So I have a whole year to ram it down their brains. But at any rate, now let's suppose I mess all this up. Well, if you go to more and go to history, you can do this and kids can do this. So under the more, it shows me a sequencing of things that have happened since we've been talking. And let's suppose you can completely mess things up and you don't know where you've messed things up. So you can come back down to reset code. Up here, it says, you want to restore the starter code? Yes, I do. And it will take it back to what I call factory settings. And so I use the more, under more, that's under more history. I call it the time machine. And I teach them that also pretty much from the first day of school, so that if they mess things up, they can go back in time. And so that's really, really good. At any rate, I've breadcrumbed this out. We've got our hyphen symbol. Now, if you look at get phrase, notice get phrase also has what I created, a prompt string, and then I'm using an input prompt plus a new line statement. And so we would talk about how prompts are nudges for action to a user, and I can use the input function with a user-based prompt. And then here's something else that's, I think, kind of magical. Again, they will not see if logic for maybe another month, I don't know, in the sequence. But remember, I'm working as a developer in a company, and they've said, we want this hyphenating code written by the end of the week. I'm going to have to learn stuff in context. And so I'm thinking, all right, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to type in Mickey Mouse code thousands of times as I'm doing development. So I'm going to be smart. I'm going to say, hey, let's look at the length of my phrase. So if someone types in something that's empty, they just go enter. Now we're seeing another function. It's a function that's tied to the idea of the phrase, which is a string in nature. And here we start talking about the idea of data type early on, that certain functions are tied to the nature of the data they're processing, in particular the length function. So this length function looks at my phrase and says, hey, if it's numerically equal to 0, oh, the double equal sign, which means is it numerically equal to, not being assigned. And we can compare and contrast that to the idea of the assignment statement here, which is a single equal with the double equal. Now they'll see all this in CodeHS as time goes on, but again, I'm doing this from a bird's eye perspective early on, and I'm saying, hey, if the phrase has a length of 0, I want my phrase to be my default phrase. And since default phrase was a global variable of Mickey Mouse code, what this means is that if I'm lazy and I come in, what's your hyphenating character? I'm going to go dash. What's your phrase? If I just go enter, notice magically I didn't have to type anything, and it's saying we're hyphenating Mickey Mouse code with a hyphen. Now, thanks for using our app. Well, now obviously it didn't do the work. So what's going on? Well, I've used the function get hyphen symbol to get the hyphen symbol. I've used the get phrase, and then I've manipulated it. Knowing that phrase is a string, the data type, so I'm talking about data type almost first day of school. Something else. I can use a function length to get the length of my phrase and make a decision based on that. I talk about tabbing to get this as part of the if logic. Then, something else. It says phrase dot upper. Now this is a different kind of function. It's affiliated with phrase dot upper. And what the heck is that? And I say that's another way of calling a function. Right now, just trust me that it works. But what did it do? It turned my phrase, which was lowercase, Mickey Mouse code, to uppercase. And I see it right there. And so later we'll talk about the difference between functions that look like this and functions that look like this. Right now, I just want them to start thinking about it. And then there's the little thing that prints my little dashes there. And then I return the phrase. Now notice, meanwhile, I call hyphenating phrase. It's a function that calls, it's like a function. I'll teach them this about math. I'll say in math, you talk about functions. And often your functions are called f, and you taught f of x. Well, in computer science, we can give it more than one ingredient. It's like making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. If I want to do that, I need some ingredients. I need peanut butter, I need jelly. Oh, there's the peanut butter and jelly. That's the idea that I might use. And here I'm using a breadcrumb just showing me that it did receive P, it did receive HC, and here I'm printing them out. I call it echo printing to say that this is what I'm going to be doing. And if I don't get something that looks meaningful here, then I know I need to go back and deal with stuff a little bit more carefully. But it's not doing the work yet. But look at the main event. The main event called the introduction. It got the hyphenating symbol. It got the phrase. And then, ooh, if logic again, if the phrase is not equal to big Q, now remember, I said type a little q over here, but remember the input stuff is being made into uppercase. And so, hey, if the phrase isn't Q, hyphenate the phrase. So I'm calling that function, and then if it wasn't Q, and it all works. So what I've done is I put up a shell for hyphenate phrase. It hasn't hyphenated the phrase yet, but I can see everything's wired up. And I've also seen that the input is correct. This is the phrase I wanted to hyphenate. This is the hyphenating symbol. All is good. I might not know how to do this yet, but at least I know I've got the correct ingredients. So that's what stage 1 final does. And so as you can imagine, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, since these guys are working, the thing that's next is actually fleshing out hyphenate phrase. So let's go and look. I'm going back to my list of assignments. If I look at stage 2, stage 2 has, and this is incremental development. And so here I'm making, this is kind of what we might be doing in this area here. I may have already done some of it too. Let's go ahead and just save it and run it and see if there's anything that looks different. Usually there's a couple of things that I've done. Now I'm going to go enter without doing any. Oh, look. Here I went enter and it didn't, it's crashed. Now, sometimes I'll do that without meaning to. Sometimes I'll do it deliberately, but I want them to see how to process what's happened. It didn't know what to do because notice. So a kid would be delighted to see this happen. I was trying to use the idea of a default hyphenating symbol in get hyphen, but because when I got the when it received something of length 0, there was not a first entry there, and so we found a bug, we found a flaw. Now get phrase doesn't do that. Here I said if the phrase is 0, do this. Ooh, notice I didn't do that there. So you'll never know whether I did this deliberately or not, but if this happened in the middle of class and I feel like a dumbbell, then what I do is say, well, okay, class, for the rest of the period, what I want you to do, study what we did in get phrase and see if you can shoehorn that into get hyphen symbol and see if we can get that thing fixed. Meanwhile, let's assume that we were not idiots, and let's give it a symbol. And then let's give it the phrase. And now you can see what happened here. Well, in this version, in get hyphenating phrase, it says updated hyphen symbol. So notice what's happening here in the get phrase. Here it said, oh, okay, here's what's going on, and I didn't mention this. In the instructions, which I should have read to you, if I want to change the hyphenating character and I don't have to go through the process of asking for it again, I can precede it with the first with the first symbol. So for example, if I run and I say I want a dash and then I want my default character, there we go. Well, now what happens if later I don't want to use the default? I want to use my own and I want to change it. So what's your hyphenating character, dash, and then what's your phrase? I love Python. Okay. Well, what happens if I don't want to use that dash? Well, let's run it again. I'm going to give it a dash. I love, oops. Let's give it an arrow, a greater than symbol. I love Python. So the upgrade in this stage is it looks at the first character. And so it says, notice my comments, and I teach them put in comments early on. Check if the first character is a non-alpha value. And so here again, the thing that made me fall in love with Python is there's so many built-in functions based on data type that if first character, look, I'm grabbing the first character for my phrase in room 0. First character is alpha. So look what we've seen. So far, we've seen dot upper. We've seen dot is alpha. It's using built-in functions. And I teach them there's a wealth of these. Study them as quickly as you can because that means code that you don't have to write. And so then when I grab that first character, if it's alpha, if it's not alpha. So this is magical. Java, I'd like to see you do this because it reads like good English. If not, the first character is alpha, then I'm going to let it be. I'm going to update my symbol to be something that I need it to be, and then I make it uppercase, etc. Now, I'm looking at the time. We've got about 15 minutes. So my point here is that I'm showing them stuff that's contextual, that's serving a purpose of doing something that's kind of goofball, hyphenating a phrase, but I'm wanting to see the power of Python and establish some ideas that are high-level ideas early on that they're going to be practicing in baby steps in the CodeHS assignment. So anyway, so hyphenating phrase, notice this stage, stage 2, did a little bit more work with get phrase, letting me grab the first character. Oh, and I didn't show how that works. Oh, and incidentally, if you're long-winded like I am, you'll start something running, and I think after a minute, this thing times out, and you have to start over. You have to start it over again, which is annoying. So I'm going to give it dash. Whoops, no. Angle brace. I love Python. Return, and notice it updated, and so it's going to be hyphenating I love Python with the greater than symbol. Great. So this stage 2 was adjusting get phrase. Okay. Now we still haven't got to the real work, which is the it's okay, which is stage 3. So I'm going to go and grab. Oh, don't say not responding. That's terrifying.
Hey, Kent,
Not responding.
can you
Yes.
hear me? You're breaking up a bit, but
Okay.
sometimes
Let
if
me-
you sometimes
let's
if
see
you
if
shut
it,
your video off, that might help.
Okay.
If you just shut the video off. We'll see if that helps. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, let's see. It's I'm getting the little spinning wheel of death here.
Oh boy.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
I can.
It's not even letting me okay. Let me close out some windows. Okay. Okay, maybe it's better now. If it looks like it's stabilized now. Okay, let me see if I can turn off my video. See, when I click on mine, it's just giving me the little spinning wheel.
Let me see if I can stop your video for you.
Yeah, can you talk? Can you take over?
I think I stopped your video.
Let me see.
Did you already hit the refresh button?
I've tried, it's not responding at all.
Man, okay, I'm gonna let you do that.
Chrome is not
While
responding at all.
while you're doing that, I'm gonna throw some links into the chat for them. So they can kind of get started on
Good, okay, so now,
stuff. So I wanted to let everyone know that we do have
tell you what,
still a bunch of different webinars coming up that are free for you to sign up for. So I'll put that link in the chat for you while he's getting set up. That one we do have going all the way through the beginning of August. So if you want to take a look at that link and see if you want to sign up for any of those, you can do that. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about for just a minute is if you have the slides and you take a look at them later, there is one slide that talks about the teacher trainer program. And the teacher trainer program is a program that CodeHS has for teachers who have been using CodeHS for at least a year and are pretty comfortable in their content. And so Kent is a teacher trainer. And many times if you come to our webinars, teacher trainers are the ones who are putting on the webinars. And to be a teacher trainer, there's just an application you would fill out on that teacher trainer webpage. And you are able to get the slides from CodeHS and talk to other CodeHS members. And also we have meetups where you can meet other computer science teachers. And it's just nice because many times as computer science teachers, we are the only teacher in the school who teaches computer science. And so we're not in a group with English and social studies and things like that. So it helps to kind of have a computer science group. And so if you're at all interested in becoming a teacher trainer and sharing your knowledge with other teachers and receiving a monetary honorarium each time you do that, go ahead and click on that link. And then the other link I have is the webinar survey link. And this link I will put into the chat as well. This is a link for you to give us some feedback about this webinar, the content of the webinar, and some other information that it asks for you. I'm getting some questions. We'll see if we'll see if Kent makes it back in. To be, some of them are Kent specific. We'll see if he makes it back in, but I'm glad he at least made it to the tail end here. And you were able to see that this project that he put together, I think it's absolutely amazing, starting with the end in mind and getting students to see how they would use Python, all of those different skills that they learn and functions and commands that they learn in Python, they can actually see how they work in a real program right off the bat and be able to ask questions. Well, why is there only one equal sign and why does this one have two? And how come you're returning this value and you're not just printing it? And so those are all really good things that students can get from looking at this project that he created. The other thing is, since you were in the section with us today, you have access to Kent's sandbox program that we put in there, the Mickey Mouse Saga. Feel free to, if you would like to add that to your course, you can definitely do that. You can click the three dots and add it to one of your courses as well. Oh, I think I hear Kent. Is that you? Nope, that's not Kent.
can you hear
Oh,
me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
not.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
By the time I would reboot and get back in, I think it would be over. My apologies, everybody. Things just is Chrome.
No worries, Kent. We got you. Thank you for showing us what you did. And I'm sure.
No idea.
And I'm sure. Oh, go ahead. Oh. We lost him. We lost him completely. Anyway, hopefully you're able to look through that project that we were going through that's in the workshop section, and maybe be able to use that with your students in some way, or come up with a project of your own where you can incorporate a lot of different Python programming and have students kind of figure it out as they go. Let me see if oh, you need the attendance link again? Sure. We can put that in there for you. And then let me know if you need anything else. You're welcome. All right, here comes the attendance link for anybody who missed it. This is, okay, here we go. Okay, there's the attendance link. Let me know if you need any other links as well, if you didn't make it into the section or anything like that. I can give you the link to the slide presentation one more time if you want to bookmark this, because this slide presentation has all the links on it for you. You can also get to everything from there as well. How does he pace teaching? Oh, I wish I could answer that question. Kent is so good too. Let us know if you have any other questions. And thank you for filling out the webinar survey. CodeHS does integrate, so that would be a pro feature. And I think we put the link in there to all the things that come with pro, but CodeHS does integrate with various LMS providers. Yeah, I can actually give you Kent's email address. He let me know that I can. So let me get that for you. And he actually gave the link to his website, which is technovicetools.com. So I can put that in as well too. Well, this was the link he gave me to his Mickey Mouse video clip, but that is the website, technovicetools.com. And let's see real quick. I'll get his email put in there for you in just a second. Any other questions while I'm getting Kent's email? Deep dive tomorrow, what will it entail? Deep dive tomorrow is actually with another teacher trainer. His name is Keith Bona, and he teaches Python in the middle school, and he uses the Python basics course, but he's also going to give, tips and tricks on what he uses in his classroom and how he teaches Python as well. So it's kind of a different way to teach Python. So I think it is helpful to attend both. Nice. Thank you for putting those articles in, Stephanie. Oh, yay. Okay, I found his email. There you go. techtoolsguru@gmail.com. Check out his website too. He's got a lot of cool stuff. Awesome. zero experience in Python, you will get it. Most teachers cover Python in a full year course. Yeah, if you're at the high school level, you would want to do the intro to Python programming. If that's something that you wanted your students to learn was Python, I would definitely go with that course. You can look at our course catalog. So if you just go to CodeHS course catalog, you can type in Python and then click high school and see which other Python courses that we do have. Maybe if you don't have a year to teach it and you're trying to do something else. Most definitely. All right, looks like it's 1 o'clock. I want to thank everyone again so much for coming in and staying and learning about how Kent does his teaching of Python in his course. And don't forget to check out codehs.com for more information about the different courses that we have. We also have state courses. Thank you so much. I will tell Kent that you all said thank you as soon as I can get a hold of him. All right, have a great day. Bye, everyone. Thank you again.